Welcome to Inside South Union Township here on the South Union Township Network. Inside South Union Township is a joint cooperative venture featuring Township Supervisors Bob Schiffbauer, Rick Fernan and Jason Scott, Atlantic Broadband Cable, Armstrong Cable, and our friends at CUTV. We're here today with Congressman Bill Schuster and South Union Township Supervisor Bob Schiffbauer. How are you guys doing today?
Very good, thank you.
Fine, Brian.
And we've had a number of programs here on the South Union Township Sports Network over the last couple of years about the Sheepskin Trail, and that's going to be one of the topics we're going to be discussing here tonight. And Congressman, can you update us on the progress of the Sheepskin Trail in our area?
Sure. Well, we've met several times with the supervisors and other interested parties here in the county. We're going to work hard to find the funding because I believe it'll have a significant positive economic impact on this community. And if you just look, because it connects you to the Great Allegheny Passage, and if you just go down to some of the towns along the Great Allegheny Passage that are in the 9th Congressional District, Iapile, Confluence, there's been tremendous benefit to those communities. And so I think you connect this region, this area, to the Great Allegheny Passage, you're going to see the same kind of positive impacts. So again, we're committed to working with the supervisors and the other local elected officials to make this a reality.
Since our last taping a few months ago, how much progress has been made?
Well, it's been slow, and it has been slow, unfortunately, for too many years. But I think with the new Board of Commissioners, they've reinvested their efforts to get the project moving. And honestly, without the commissioners' support, it would be very difficult to see the trail ever completed. But as the Congressman mentioned, connecting with the Great Allegheny Passageway, just for a little bit of background information, the Great Allegheny Passageway, you can go all the way from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C. now on the trail. It's one of the most popular trails in the United States. There's over 1.4 million people that utilize the trail during the course of a year. And it's amazing what it has done to positive impact on the economy in the area along the trail. And trails generally are a very positive thing just alone. But to consider and factor in connecting with the Great Allegheny Passageway down to our south in Morgantown. Morgantown in West Virginia has a very extensive trail system. The people down there are dying to have the ability to go from their system to the Great Allegheny Passageway. And the Sheepskin Trail is about the only really workable trail route that could ever connect to the Great Allegheny Passageway. So it's a winner. It's a winner for Fayette County, and we really appreciate the Congressman's assistance in trying to make this happen.
And it should certainly help as far as hotels, restaurants,
sure,
and tourism in general.
Absolutely. And just to let the folks know that are watching, in the FAST Act, which is the highway bill that we passed last December, which comes out of the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure, which I chair, we have dollars in there specifically targeting these kinds of programs. Now we need to work with the state through it. The dollars are coming to the state, but I think the state is positive about this. But again, getting the commissioners, supervisors, the elected officials here at the state level all working together, I think is something we can achieve.
You certainly stay busy. You're actually the chairman of a number of committees.
Well, just the chairman of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, but I serve on the Armed Services Committee. So I'm a senior member of that committee. So we've stayed pretty busy.
You mentioned the act that was passed just a few weeks ago. Can you maybe go in a little more depth as far as that act?
Sure. It's several months ago actually, okay. But in December, the FAST Act, which is Fixing America's Surface Transportation, is the highway bill. It funds the highway program across this country. It was a 5-year bill, fiscally responsible. We didn't go into debt. We found the dollars to provide for the programs, and it deals in a partnership with the states. The federal government has a role to play to make sure that the interstate highway system is connecting the entire nation. And right here in Fayette County, you have the very first federally authorized and federally appropriated 100% federal dollars that built the highway from Baltimore to the Ohio Territory, which comes right through, and that's Route 40, the National Pike. So again, this is a historic highway. It's historically and constitutionally, it's something the federal government needs to do. So we were able to fund that, had significant reforms in it, but it's the first long-term bill that we've had in about 15 years. And the states need that kind of long-term stability, knowing what the federal government's contributing, as well as the folks that build the roads and build the equipment, the manufacturer equipment that build roads and bridges.
And of course, that's been a hot button issue over the last couple of years
Sure.
too, with a lot of the bridges and the highway systems in our area starting to deteriorate.
Sure, absolutely. It's something we have to invest in. It's the veins that carry commerce in this country. Getting goods in and out of an area, they have to be an efficient system. And I've got to tell you, in this presidential campaign, there were very few things that the presidential candidates agree on, but both of them agree that we have to rebuild our infrastructure. And that's something that I've been very dedicated to in Congress and want to continue to work to do that.
How's that going to benefit us locally here in
Well,
Fayette County?
I think that the biggest benefit is that, first of all, improving your bridges here, which is immediate. Long term is finding the dollars to connect 43 to Pittsburgh, to find that route, to find that sweet spot. Again, you've got this great roadway that takes you south, but you get about 12 miles from Pittsburgh and you hit red lights, and I've taken it many times. That's an important artery to long term figure out the solutions to connect this region of Pittsburgh on a modern 4-lane highway.
It actually seems that some progress is being made there, though. I saw within the last 6 months or so that there were some proposals being made as far as land acquisition in that
Sure.
area.
Sure.
So it seems like the wheels are finally at least in motion to maybe get that highway system complete.
Well, it is in motion. It's very difficult, though, because when you hit that last 12 miles, it's population. And so you've got to figure out how do you put a modern 4-lane highway into communities. So looking at different routes, alternative routes, that's something they've been doing, and we've been working with them on it.
How close do you think we are to actually coming up with that, and what's the timetable there?
We're still several years out, but again, we're moving forward, trying to figure out what the routes are. Again, and I think that's, if you go anywhere in this country, when you connect population centers to population centers, going down to Morgantown, West Virginia, and places like that, which is experiencing a lot of growth, that's great for the points in between. And so that's something we're, again, committed to doing.
Anything like that, Bob?
Well, I can attest to the importance of having adequate highways. We've been fortunate in South Union Township to have a considerable amount of development, especially retail development. And that retail development would not be possible unless we had the highways. And over the last 10, 15 years, we've been very lucky in being able to secure highway dollars to build the project going on right now for Route 21. That will further enhance the area there for additional development. Unfortunately, we had Kmart closing, but I'm very positive thinking that that factor alone will help significantly attract another occupant to the Kmart site, as well as other locations throughout our area. And there are a number of roads around South Union Township that these tax dollars, highway dollars, has really helped us and benefited the township for our development and through Fayette County as well.
Not to get off topic too much, though, but I get a lot of questions in the community about that Kmart area up there as far as what might be happening here in the near future.
Well, there's been some interest already in the Kmart site.
Okay.
Nothing yet to announce, and there's some other developments. The grocery store Lidl's,
Okay.
they're supposed to start in February. That's going to be a nice addition to the area, as well as some other stores. So we're moving, and it's only possible with the highway improvements.
And if I could just add, the other thing, which is retail's good, but we've got to figure out how to attract the manufacturing back to Western Pennsylvania. And roadways, highways, that's a big component of it. Back in the day when this place when manufacturing and steel and coal were king, it was the waterways that brought it here. Today, it's got to be certainly the waterways, but the railroads and then the highways. And that's something that we've got to continue to work on to attract those types of industries back to Western Pennsylvania, which is, again, a big part of that is the highway system. It's something we're looking at all the time, working with companies. Right now, working with Boeing in Fayette County to see if they can't expand what their manufacturing facilities doing down there.
I know we saw initially when 43 was built through the area, the big boom with the Fayette Business Park, and that expanding a little bit as well, and it'd be nice to see that continue down the road.
Sure. And a big part of that is natural gas. We have not approved this. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission has not approved these permits to allow for the ports around the country to build liquefied natural gas facilities so that they can pump it down to these facilities, liquefy it, and then ship it out to the world. Our European friends are buying gas from Russia for $13, $14 a unit, and we're getting $2.80 or $3 a unit here. We've got to get it out. It's good for Pennsylvania. It's good for our folks here in Fayette County. It's good for America. It's good for our allies, and it helps us against one of our opponents in the world, and that's Vladimir Putin and Russians. It cuts their legs out from under them. If we ship our gas to Europe, and our European friends would much rather buy it from us than somebody that holds them hostage every winter.
And we've seen that gas and oil, especially here in Fayette County,
Absolutely.
the industry decline over the last couple of years.
And that's due to the decrease in price. And we've got to get it out to world markets. Again, Europeans are paying $13, $14 a unit, and we're selling it in America for $2.80 or $3. If we ship it over there, we're going to get $10, $11, $12, and that's what these producers need here.
How much can you do as a congressman to try to help with that whole situation?
Well, we passed legislation to push on. It's the administration, the regulatory agency, that has held them up. 10 years ago, 8 years ago, there were 19 permits. They approved 3 of them. One's producing or shipping gas out into the world markets. One's being constructed and one's just getting started. I mean, we in Congress have been pushing on this administration by passing legislation to get these things built. And we've had an occupant in the White House that hasn't been helping us on this. And again, we know what he's done with coal. And again, we've got to get coal back. And coal is something that can come back as long as we reduce these regulatory barriers that we put on them that don't help the world environment at all. Because when you have the Chinese and the Indians and others producing or building coal-fired facilities at breakneck speeds, we've got to sell our coal into the world, and we've got to continue to use coal.
And we've seen that coal decline here in your area as well.
Absolutely, and that is based on this administration's regulatory burdens they've placed on coal. We have a facility just over in Greene County, a coal-fired facility that shut down after they spent $200 million to clean up their facility. Then the EPA put other regulations. They wanted another $200 million, and they said we can't afford it. We have got to do what's reasonable. We certainly want a clean environment, but we can do it. And by using coal and continuing to push to find clean ways to clean that coal up, we can do that. And we have. Coal today burns much cleaner than it did even 10, 15 years ago. And we can continue to do it. We have more coal in the world than anybody else. We've got to tap into that resource and use it to make America strong and to make this region strong with the manufacturing and the production of coal.
Anything like that, Bob?
Well, with our tremendous resources, it just does not make sense to maintain a policy that we've experienced over the last 6-8 years, where we're sitting, in essence, on a gold mine.
And not taking advantage of it.
Yeah, that's right.
How do you see things changing maybe after the presidential election?
Well, we've got one candidate that wants to get coal back into production and use it, and we've had one candidate that she said she's going to put coal businesses out, she's going to put coal companies out of business and miners out of work. We just can't do that, and this directly affects southwestern Pennsylvania. So we've got to have somebody in the White House that wants to use coal as a source of energy for this country.
Approximately how many manufacturing jobs would be in your district?
Excuse me?
Approximately how many manufacturing jobs do you think would be affected in your district?
If we were to...
if it would get shut down?
Oh, it's already taken a big hit.
Yeah.
You've got thousands of people out of work today, and if it's completely shut down, which is what the goal of Hillary Clinton has said, you've got another couple thousand people.
Wow.
And if it's reignited, you're going to put thousands of people back to work, just like in the gas industry saw. When we utilize our natural resources, which we have, as Bob had said, we've got to use it. We're sitting on a gold mine.
And I think I just come across some figures recently. I think it's something around 80,000 miners have lost their job over these years.
Wow.
And that's Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, this region of the world that we live in, where coal is.
Obviously, we've had a number of issues around this area. The opioid problem has also been a major issue, drugs and alcohol in this area. I had an opportunity a couple of months ago covering a media event. It was an open forum for folks that are having drug and alcohol problems in the area. It was amazing to hear the number of stories that were out there with folks struggling with that. I think sometimes we don't realize the number of folks that are having problems in our district. What can be done about this?
Well, we had a forum in August and brought in some experts and local community leaders. Congress has passed a bill called the CARE Act that provides more grant money for our local law enforcement, for folks to deal with these situations. It is a problem that we have in this region and, quite frankly, across America. that the federal government has a responsibility. When you talk about law enforcement locally, that's of course the local and the states, but stopping the flow coming into this country is something that's the federal responsibility, and as well as trying to get the dollars to help the local folks deal with these problems that the federal government has failed to stop it from coming in. It is a huge problem. Lives are being destroyed by it, and a lot of it is occurring in places that have seen a significant economic downturn. So creating jobs and creating a vibrant economy turns people away from those types of things.
Certainly would give them something else to do instead of worrying about
Absolutely.
having too much time on their hands and maybe resorting to issues like that.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned starting at a federal level. Expand on that a little bit as far as how that's going to help with the whole trickle-down effect.
Sure. First and foremost, the federal responsibility is controlling what and who comes in and out of this country. And it's not only the what, it's the drugs, but the who that are bringing them in. We've got to stop that. And we've talked for years about building a wall, about better enforcement. It's time we've done this. It's time we've got somebody running for president, Donald Trump, who's committed to it. But then, again, once these drugs start to flow in, the problems they cause within society, there is a federal responsibility to help with some of the funding which we passed about, I guess it's 5 months ago now, we passed the CARE Act, and that's to help with the funding level. And it's help with the education process. It's helping to make sure that we're sharing information so that somebody from Fayette County can't go across the border to West Virginia or Ohio and get a prescription filled that they don't need. And that's where some of this is coming from.
Over the first 5 months that this has been passed, what have you seen helped out in this area with that getting passed?
Well, the dollars are just starting to flow out.
Okay.
And so we haven't seen a significant impact. Again, in August, we met with local officials, and they're talking about the things that it's going to help them with. We should start to see that over here in the next few months.
And of course, you see that as well here in South Union Township.
Well, a few years ago, we did a year-and-a-half study. Our Public Safety and Policing Commission that we formed here in the township, and we did a lot of interviewing, brought experts in on the subject, particularly with drugs. And the thing that I was come away with that dismayed is the lack of an organized drug task forcing throughout the state of Pennsylvania. It seems to be so hit and miss, and along with lack of funding. And I think on the state level, a better job could be done to organize the task force and providing the funds. I think there's the will of people to see it done, but I think the leadership is going to have to come from the state level.
Where are we at right now on that?
Well, again, the state level, I can't speak for the state, but I know that we've got the funds coming to the state to help with that organized effort. And I just got to mention here, right here in Fayette County, Genesis House, which has been in operation about 2 years. There's a local organization, a faith-based organization, that's really doing some great work here, and it continues to expand and bring more mostly young men into it. We just read an event about a week ago or so at the Bruderhof with their annual fundraiser. Those are the kinds of local things, faith-based organizations, and faith-based organizations, whether it's drug addiction, whether it's educational programs, whether it's job training, faith-based organizations. What I've seen in my time is they always do a more efficient job, a more effective job of getting these programs out there. They do it for less money, and they have greater success rate. And that's what the Genesis House has done under Reverend Sanders, is just doing a fabulous job here in Uniontown.
Now, with some of the funding that continues to pour in, could we maybe see some similar groups pop up around the area to help some of those in different areas in your district?
Well, sure, and you see some of them now, but really example here in Fayette County, what the Genesis House has done. And again, they're already looking to expand to a bigger facility, and we hope to be able to get some federal dollars to help them with that expansion. But again, dollars are tight everywhere, but this is an epidemic that we really have to go after and defeat it.
Yeah, it would be nice to see, certainly for the area, and the more we can keep, I think, folks off the street and stay busy, and obviously, as we said, it starts with the economy. What are some of your goals over the next couple of years?
As we move into the next Congress, first of all, making sure that we're funding the government moving forward. That's going to be a big priority for us as we get after these elections. I serve on the Armed Services Committee, passing the National Defense Authorization Act, which we do every year. We intend to pass that before the end of the year. And then next year, working on figuring out how to find more dollars, a fiscally responsible way, without raising taxes, find more dollars to put into the Highway Trust Fund that flow to the states to help us rebuild our roads and bridges in this country. And that's going to be one of my top priorities. As my priorities have always been transportation infrastructure, which is economic development, and the number one responsibility of the federal government is national security, and that's why I serve in the Armed Services Committee to make sure that this area has a loud voice in our national security issues.
Talk a little bit about more the act that was going to be passed near the end of the year. You mentioned the Armed Services Act.
The National Defense Authorization Act, it's what governs the Department of
Okay.
Defense. It determines, are they going to be able to buy this system, what kind of training, what kind of programs for our soldiers and sailors and airmen. That's what the governing body is, what the total dollar figure is going to be spent on our Defense Department. That's what we pass, and again, we've done this will be the 55th year in a row that we've passed it every single year.
Nice.
It's important, and again, when it comes down to the national security of this country, it is a very bipartisan issue. Republicans and Democrats, it came out of committee, I think 58-1 or 58-2. It passed on the House floor, and now we're working with the Senate to have final passage. We certainly have some differences of opinion, but we're always able to come together as a country, as Congress, to pass a defense authorization bill, which is critical to our security.
You also mentioned from a financial standpoint, too, obviously the country on a whole has been in the red,
Sure.
And it continues to snowball. What can be done to try to change that?
Well, as the Republican-controlled majority in the House, 4 years in a row, we have reduced spending. The EPA, for instance, is at funding levels that they were at 2009. So we've held down the spending. But really what needs to happen to get this balanced budget and to pay down our debt is a growing, prosperous economy, growing at 4 and 5% a year. Growing at an anemic 1.5% just doesn't cut it. You've got to have 4 to 5%. People get back to work. People are creating jobs and economic development. That's the way you get the budget balanced. That's the way you got to control spending, but you got to have a growing, vibrant economy to do that. And the way to do that is reduce regulations and reducing taxes on our businesses and our families.
How about health care? We saw recently Obamacare premiums going up 25% nationwide, even more here in Pennsylvania.
It's I think I saw the number the last 2 years. It's something like 60% in Pennsylvania. Look, I opposed Obamacare. I fought and continue to fight against it. I thought this was going to be the outcome when it passed with the Democrats in control of the White House, the Senate, and the House. That's when it passed, and we've been fighting diligently for the past several years to change it, to stop it, to pull it out. But you've got to have a willing partner in the White House to be able to do the kind of change that we need to do. And again, Pennsylvanians are feeling it. Pennsylvanians are paying more and more dollars, and our small businesses are the ones that really are suffering because they're just getting hammered with these increases in the premiums.
I think even with some of the additional subsidies that are being added on, I think we're all paying those subsidies as well along the lines.
Absolutely, that's what happens. People that had good health insurance still have it. They're just paying a lot more for it. And that's
also getting less coverage, too. You're
absolutely.
seeing...
You had former President Bill Clinton say, premiums are going up, coverage is going down. It's crazy. It is crazy. It doesn't. Government-controlled systems don't do a good job of effectively and efficiently providing services. And this is a case in point. We've got to do something about it, or we're going to just continue to see these escalating costs and declining services. And our hospitals are really feeling it. We've got a lot of great nonprofit hospitals in the 9th Congressional District here in Fayette County in the area that are really feeling the pressure of Obamacare.
One last healthcare question. Do you think if they open up things across state lines and allow more competition, it will help lower prices across the board?
Absolutely. When you inject competition into a system, what it does is it keeps costs down, it drives up service. And just like we buy our car insurance and our life insurance, we can buy it anywhere we want in the country. And the health care is the only one you have to buy a state-based program. We've got to be able to go across and create this competition. That's why you see in many counties in Pennsylvania, there's one provider now. I think I saw the state of Arizona. The entire state of Arizona is going to have one provider. That's not competition.
No.
And we've got to do it. That's one of the key reform principles that I've pushed for that we haven't been able to do, because again, we don't have a willing participant in the White House to put that in place.
It's been a fast half hour again here on Inside South Union Township, here on the South Union Township Network, being joined by South Union Township Supervisor Bob Schiffbauer and Congressman Bill Schuster. Guys, before we wrap things up, anything else you'd like to add?
Well, one of the reasons why we have the congressman here today, and we've worked with him in the past, he's done great things in the Hawk Village of Hawkwood years ago. He was able to bring the funding in. And early in my career, I worked for Congressman Austin Murphy for 3 years. And I have a pretty good understanding of how the system works in Washington, D.C. And to have a person in Congressman Schuster's position, head of the Transportation Committee, we're very fortunate to have him in that position. He's already demonstrated the ability to bring tax dollars in the area, and I'm sure with his intention, he wants to continue doing that, and we're just very fortunate to have him with us.
Congressman?
Well, again, Election Day is coming up, and this is the day when the voters go out and decide whether they're going to rehire me or fire me. Again, I've worked very hard. I work across party lines in Congress. I work with Republicans and Democrats back here at home to do good things for the community. I don't get bogged down in the politics of Washington when it comes to doing things like in Hopwood or up on the mountain, helping them to get a water system there so they have clean water, and building highways and bridges and doing those kinds of things that help the community. So again, on Election Day, I sure hope that the voters of South Union Township, of Fayette County, of the 9th Congressional District will consider voting for me so I can go back to work for them and be their voice in Washington. I get up every single day, and I know who I work for, and that's the voters.
Always nice to see you here in South Union Township as well.
Thank you.
That's Congressman Bill Schuster and State Rep and South Union Township Supervisor Bob Schiffbauer. I don't want to get any
I'm
more
happy
trouble.
where I'm at.
Again, thank you for joining us here on Inside South Union Township. Inside South Union Township, a joint cooperative venture featuring Township Supervisors Bob Schiffbauer, Rick Vernon, and Jason Scott, Atlantic Broadband Cable, Armstrong Cable, and our friends at CUTV. For Congressman Bill Schuster and Bob Schiffbauer, this is Brian Morozak. Have a great day.